Say King of Pro Wrestling was eventful would be an understatement. It's probably the biggest look we've got into the future of New Japan in a long time. Not just are we seeing, new stars come up, but we're also seeing probably some key big moments for stars of the past fading out, being Tanahashi and Naito. This show had matches from top to bottom noteworthy. Literally from the first match onwards, there was something worth talking about. As a show, I don't want to say we're back, but this didn't feel like a big thing like the whole world, like the wrestling world. But in the New Japan sphere, this felt like a very big moment. I think looking back in the future, we're going to look back at this show historically for some reason, be it Tanahashi or Naito, or maybe Oiwa. A pretty good vibe left by this show. We didn't feel down at the end, mainly because the main event was pretty good for a change. But let's stop the preview and let's talk. Hiromu versus Mystico. Great match. Rare we get such a good match to start. Usually it's the dads warming up the crowd, but we went straight in with some deafening deafening vuvuzelas, horns, something. Because it was first, it was pretty short, which is a shame because I would have liked to see it longer. I think they've had longer matches already, or a longer match. But it's a shame they had to go so short tonight. The ending was kind of weird. He kind of felt like he no-sold the La Mystica and just kind of got up and started like tying the arm up for the follow-up. And the fans kind of thought the time bomb was botched. So that, the crowd kind of didn't react to it. But a very fun start to the show. I can't complain whatsoever. Jet Setters versus War Dogs was great. A little sloppy in places, mainly from Knight. Kudos to Knight, he pulled off the most convincing I'm hitting two moves on two separate guys at the same time spot ever by like tying up his legs in their legs to like make him lose balance and fall back. So that actually looked convincing for a change because usually they don't. I mean, the highlight is always the big Kevin Knight dive to the crowd, which looked particularly insane today. Like immediately after there was a botch where he fell off the top rope trying to do a net breaker splash combination. And there was like a belly to belly into the corner which Kushida was meant to tag after, and that, it kind of missed a bit and made it a bit awkward. Also, just before the hot tag, Kushida did a comedy spot, which was really, really weird and fed out of place, but I think Clark and Connors are great for this division, because while everyone else is doing, like, cool jumps and flips, they're very physical and very physically imposing, and it makes them feel like a force to conquer, which is pretty sweet. My biggest complaint might be the finish. They tried to do, like, a flash pin, sort of, where Kushida would set him up, and then Knight would roll over him into the cover, but the setup was, like, slightly too long, to the point where it didn't feel like he should have been down for free from it. But great match. Maybe the best on the show. One of, if not the best. Rogue Army or Bullet Club, I guess he's still in there, versus TMDK. Strange for a tag team title to kind of be a showcase for someone who hasn't really debuted, but here we are. My man Hideo Saito is back. But Caveman Ugg does give me early Rusev vibes, for anyone who watched Rusev's first year or so. I think he could be a big deal if they play him right. He could have that Cobb spot in the future where, like, a big guy but can do everything. I think he could be something. Farley did next to nothing, which helped the match a lot. Short but decent and memorable for Ugg's first New Japan match, really. Shingo Oiwa, he's got so much going against him. It was a great match, but in my eyes, there's so much going against Oiwa for me to really see him as the top guy, His hair looks like the love child of Blair Davenport and Tenzan. His big moves are a sleeper and a lariat, which are like the two most common moves in New Japan. And so far, his arsenal isn't really spectacular. It's pretty basic, like nothing you'd really see out of a Young Lion match, really. His finisher is also called the Grip, which is awful, but what can you do? I guess it's not much worse from the Gene Blast, so I'll probably get used to it. Despite all that, the ending sequences were pretty cool. The teasers of the finish was pretty good, so maybe this could feel like the next Rainmaker in a couple of years. And Shingo is Shingo, which is always great. I don't think Shingo winning hurts Oiwa. I think Shingo losing would have hurt Shingo, especially if he's going to be put in this main event scene. So they kind of put themselves in an awkward spot where Shingo's trying to fight himself for world title contention while still being the Never champion. And really, they could avoid this by just having Hanare keep the belt. But here we are. I think a good Oiwa performance doesn't hurt him whatsoever. Naito, Cobb, and Narita. The time limit helped because it meant Little House of Torture interference. We didn't have time for it. The dynamic between the three was cool. You had like Narita being the trickster, Cobb being the powerhouse, and Yota being like the hero of the story. It was good fun, but unfortunately we got the deadly trio to end the match. Downed ref, weapon shot, X Factor. Which we've seen so many times, and it's just, ugh. It's weird because it doesn't really feel that bad in other companies, but there's just something about the setup in New Japan that feels particularly disgusting. It might be just how predictable and slow it is. Like, the ref is down, he grabs a weapon, he slowly pulls him up for the X Factor and hits it. I guess double cross to be technically correct. And while, like, at least in, say, WWE main events, at least they switch it up, like, they get creative with, like, the low blow teasers and stuff. It's not just good heat to do over and over again. At least get a little creative with your cheating, you know. Hontai versus House of Torture. The entrance is pretty sweet. I think Tanahashi and Shota actually look pretty good in this outfit. Maybe they should use it more. It existed to give Tanahashi a win before his big announcement. The only thing of notice really was the Yujiro Kane spot where he kind of froze in place for about 5 seconds. But apart from that, what can you say? We've seen this match 1,000 times this past 6 months. The John Cena retirement tour. Hopefully more it goes on than the John Cena retirement tour of 0 matches in, what 4 months or something? It's pretty silly. It's kind of sad. Obviously, you don't want to see, like, a great retire. But at the same time, I don't want to see him become a Tenzan, you know? I don't want to be Tanahashi to be a guy that people watching in 10 years just get started and they think, oh, who's this dude? I don't want his legacy to be dampened. He was an all-time great, and he was for pretty much all of his career until the last year or so. So, it's gonna suck when it happens. Let's see if we can get 1 or 2 more bangers. Sho Doki. What can you say? It was an angle, really. I like the concept of, like, this mask because I like the concept of this mask because it's, like, more restricting than most masks. Other masks just mask. This feels like it's like a face guard of it hiding a monstrous side of Doki. I think that's pretty sweet, even if I think the way he played it was a little cringe. But they've done a great job with Doki. Doki actually kind of feels like a big deal now. He's just on all these shows. Like, he's had more title defenses than anyone recently, and he just wins. And it's kind of helped him. I think if he holds this a little longer and gets, like, a win over Hiromu or Despy, I think he could be elevated to, like, that big trio they talk about with them 2 and Taiji could include Doki, because he's beginning to feel like a big deal now. Wato is back and looking way less goofy, which good for him. It feels like at times we're just using the same people and over again, so more good wrestlers coming back is just great. Goto Finley, you've done it again, haven't you? Again, the crowd are popping, like, play that Goto theme all the time. The crowd react to it. Stop giving him the very boring Bishamon theme when he comes out for matches. The crowd want him to win. Like, there's not a lot New Japan crowds have got to hold on to from the past, from the glory days, and Goto still being good is there. Like, give them it. They want it. It's a very easy watch. The crowd being super into Goto helped. Had more going than most Goto matches these days. He can be a bit formulated these days, but this match had a bit more to it. The match was designed in a way Goto should have won. Like, Finley was just teasing the kids the whole match. You felt like if Goto doesn't win here, he looks like a complete idiot. And then, of course, he lost. Just, if they're saving the big win for some time within the next year, Goto wins the big one, which I still think they should do. There's still time. The fans want it. I think it will be cool. Then fine. Otherwise, why are you just beating Goto in front of his kids? It's just such a good feel-good moment, which they've replaced with such a feel-bad moment of just seeing Goto come for his kids. Finley doesn't need this to get over. Finley's already over. Finley's already now respected as a worker. So I just don't see the point in making Goto look like a lesser person to not really elevate Finley. But we hold out on hope. We hold out on hope. Naito Zack, mixed feelings about this, like a lot of the show actually. Because why it was nice to see Zack win the title, and it was nice to see Naito have a big match. It also could be the last time Naito's in that world title position, which he's been the heart and the soul of the company for a while now. He's been the hero. You know, Okada's been the mountain to climb, and Naito's been the climber. Strange, because this wasn't that far away from the Okada match, and Naito felt so much better here. He didn't feel as slow, which is weird. Maybe because Zack transitioned so fast, I'm not sure. But he felt so sluggish in that Okada match. That match felt like nothing. While this match, it felt like it was like up a gear. It felt actually it was moving at a decent pace. Like, Naito didn't feel that washed. Saber is obviously not as strong as Okada. He might be, but he doesn't look it. So it looked cool to see Destino hit properly. Like, Naito could get up for it pretty much on his own, it felt like. And he hit like 4 of them, so it was really sweet, you know? I was calling for him to change his finish, but if he's feeling better now with a bit of rest and a bit of time off, maybe he can go back to hitting it, no problem, we'll see. I mean, at least for a couple more years, because, long term, probably not. This felt like a Naito match from 3 years ago, which is a big praise, because obviously they're dropped in quality a lot recently. Like, the ending felt great, the energy in the building was great for the near falls, you know, people were falling for them. I don't know, my gut feels like this is one of the best matches since Osprey left. Not sure if that's true, maybe that's just a bias, because I'm just happy to see a good Naito, and Zack's always great. But it felt like a great match. It felt like possibly start of a comeback. It felt like a proper main event, and we haven't felt too many of those this year. Sonada Challenge will be fun. Zack and Sonada, again, I always say this, they have cracking matches. I do love to see them tie it up. Shota getting booed was awesome. I love this. I also don't like his character, so if it forces them to deviate a bit, I think that's a win-win from everyone. I mean, Shingo should be main eventing Wrestle Kingdom if Naito doesn't. He feels like the biggest star, really, apart from him. Could do Shingo win and Naito challenges. Could do that. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, making Shota a star would be great, but judging by the fans, they don't want it as the new ace, kind of. But great show. A lot happened. Very newsworthy. Like, every match felt like it had its place. I think I watched the AEW show after, and this felt like it developed more. The AEW show felt like a one-match show plus a load of the early matches I wanted to watch as a New Japan guy. But this match, with all the title matches, it felt like it built and built and was very enjoyable. Again, I wouldn't say we're back, but this could be a pinnacle moment in both the development of the new guys and moving on from the past. Wrestle Kingdom scene isn't set still. We don't know what's going on, so that's always intriguing. But you've got to feel it's going to involve either Shingo or Naito, because they've got to be the two biggest guys in my eyes. Unless they get someone from elsewhere, I'm not sure. Bring back Okada for one more Wrestle Kingdom main event, which he'll probably win or something. But overall entertaining show, definitely worth a watch. Be interesting to see where we go from here. But thank you for listening. Take care. See you soon. Adios.